The Cleveland IndyCar Grand Prix on ABC Sports. Brought to you by New Miller Beer, the brand new beer from Miller with big flavor that goes down easy. Mobile Motor Oil. At Mobile, we've been changing oil for over 125 years. Toyota Motorsports. Our minds are always racing. And Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug.
Back at the Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland, Alex Zanardi as he tries to chase down Michael Andretti. Here is the battle that has developed now for third between Joe DeFerrin and Al Unser Jr. Robbie Gordon just pulled to a stop off the edge of the race course, right up next to one of the barriers off of the pit straight. So apparently Robbie's day is done. You see him pushing the car off back there now. Also, Bobby Rahal was back into the pits again, so his problems continue on this very warm day here on the edge of Lake Erie. There's the rundown now with 67 laps complete. Michael Andretti, we're keeping an eye on him as the leader of the race. Jack Arute indicated that he may not have gotten a full load of fuel on the last pit stop. What difference will that make at this point in the run?
Well, it won't really make a difference in this point in the run because he's going to have to stop again. We're already past the 60 point. So I think what it was that Michael didn't realize he was going to have to make a 3-stop race. I think he thought it was a 2-stop. That's why he was frustrated.
Well, Michael Andretti, you see him on pit road, heads toward Jack Arute and the crew now.
And Danny Sullivan is absolutely correct. That was what Michael Andretti was so upset about. He thought he was out there for the rest of the day. Finally, Lee White radioed in that he was going to have to come in. And Michael was a little upset. Not like last week at Portland, but he was upset. But it should make a big difference. 12.2 seconds for Michael Andretti. A quick one.
So Andretti back into the fight. Alex Zanardi, of course, picked up the lead. And this is the battle now as it heats up even more between Al Unser Jr. and DeFerrin. And depending on how Michael came back on the course, this is most likely a battle for third.
And let me tell you, this is a critical battle because for Al Jr., these points are critical, particularly at the moment with Jimmy Vasser running down in about the 16th spot. So he can really close up on that championship, so can Michael.
Andrew Rivero, just ahead of the battle, is in 11th place. But that doesn't keep him from being a factor in this fight.
I didn't really see what happened to Andre Rivero because he's been running up there at the front, and now he's down in 13th spot. I don't know if he just got out of sync or what happened to him because his car seemed to be going well early on.
Just off the edge of Lake Erie here from the Honda Helicam. As it tracks the cars down the backside, heads into the East Loop.
One thing, too, about Al Unser Jr., he will race you all day long, and he gets behind you. He's not going to let go of you if there's any way he can hold on to you. He's going to try to find a way to get by.
That'll be the worst possible guy that you want in your rearview mirrors.
He is tough.
When you have somebody like him behind you, do you avoid looking to see where he is?
You don't want to look too often because you really got to focus on what's going on in front of you. But there's certain places where you'll pick a spot around the circuit where you spot just to see how close he is, and especially going into braking areas, you don't want the guy coming up underneath you and you're not paying attention. But you really are trying to focus ahead. Like right now, Jill DeFerrin is trying to think, I've got to find a way around Ribeiro as fast as I can and put a little distance between myself and Al Jr.
And that's where the whole concentration issue comes in, and the concept of driving your own race. Though we don't expect a lot of conversation, we have Jill DeFerrin's radio frequency dialed up, and we'll listen in. And Al Unser Jr. heads off to the pits. I wondered what he was going to do there. So Al Unser Jr. pits, and Gary Gerald waits for him.
Man who's won here at Burke Lakefront Airport 2 times in his grand career comes sliding into a stop. Now, he won't need a full load of fuel here. He will obviously get fresh rubber. It's a scrub set of tires that goes on down off the deck.
10 seconds. Terrific stop.
See, now that's smart pit work. That's obviously Roger Penske. He calculated how much fuel he was going to need for those 2 stops and to get to the end.
So Alex Zanardi leads, followed by DeFerrin, and now Fernandez, then Brian Herta. Jackaroo?
And the calculators are just buzzing down here at Chip Ganassi's crew. They think, and it accentuates the think, they have enough fuel on board to go the distance. But most people, by calculating, feel that it might have to be a splash and go with just a handful of laps left. They are going to keep Zanardi out, watch the telemetry, and make a decision in the final moments.
Well, here comes Zanardi through frame, and take a look. That's the interval back to Jill DeFerrin. So it's almost the full length of the main stretch here, Danny.
That's right, but here's the gamble. If you think you can make it, and you got to be pretty sure now, you can start conserving some fuel. If you're going to have to stop for that splash and go, then you've got to run it as hard as you can, because when you get in there, you want to have as big a cushion as possible. So you got to drive 2 different races. You got to be pretty sure now. You can't wait till the end and say, oh, now we need a stop and go for a little splash of fuel.
Especially on a circuit that's as big as this one. 2.369 miles, 10 turns, an airport every other day of the year except for this one weekend. And there's Adrian Fernandez, runs in 3rd place. Jackaroo?
Alex Zanardi will have to stop one more time. After looking at the telemetry, Chip Ganassi just made the decision, said we'll run the string as long as we can, try and build a cushion, and then duck in under a 60-mile-an-hour speed limit, take on about 2 seconds worth of fuel, and get back out there.
And if our hand calculations are correct, you would guess that would happen with about 5 or 6 laps to go in the race.
Well, of course, they'll try to pick a window, and they might even hope for a full course yellow so they don't lose any ground. So they're going to leave it as long as they possibly can and see what unfolds.
So the order is Zanardi, DeFerrin, Fernandez, Brian Herta. Michael Andretti is now 5th after leading. Then Moore, Unser Jr., Christian Fittipaldi, Andre Ribeiro, and Scott Pruitt.
This Ford Fact is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealers. Have you driven a Ford lately? It's hard to get through an IndyCar broadcast without someone mentioning a pop-off valve. What is it? What does it do? An IndyCar engine is turbocharged, meaning that the air going into the engine into this area known as the plenum is pressurized for more horsepower. The pop-off valve goes on top and releases out of this area any pressure above the mandated 45 inches of boost by the rules. This is how it works. Pressure is fed from the bottom of the valve into the actual canister. If that canister is pressurized, it keeps the valve shut. But if the pressure gets too high, there's effectively a mini pop-off valve that then vents air out of this tube, reducing the pressure and allowing the valve to open. Now for the driver, that feels as though someone slammed on the brakes when that valve opens. Now why does everyone complain about them? It's not because these valves aren't accurate. In fact, these new valves are extremely accurate. Well, it's because for every 1 pound of pressure in here, it equals 20 horsepower on the racetrack. Racers being racers, they will turn it up as high as they can go. If they go too far, the first thing they'll blame will be the pop-off valve.
Coming up next on ABC Sports, Talladega Superspeedway, the International Race of Champions. Let me tell you, this is one that you do not want to miss. There's a rather interesting early lap action that sets up some great final lap action. And Jill DeFerrin, now they have been talking back and forth on the radio. He runs 2nd, and it sounds like they are trying to figure out how far they can stretch this fuel tank.
Well, I tell you,
We're listening for the radio. And if we start talking, it will too. Go ahead, Danny.
Well, I was going to say something. They're telling him to come in. Of course, sometimes they do that to give the disinformation to the other teams, because a lot of times the teams monitor the other team's radio to know what they're doing, so they don't always tell them the truth over the radio.
All right, so in line right now, it's Zanardi, Jill DeFerrin, Adrian Fernandez, Brian Herta, Michael Andretti, and Greg Moore. That's the top 6. The tactics here are just spectacular. Both Jack and Gary have been running up and down the pitch trying to find out exactly who has to stop and who does not. They're out of order, so it's going to make for a very interesting end. Let's go to Gary.
Well, at pit in, the very first pit belongs to Greg Moore, the rookie who drives car number 99. Neil Mickelwright, who plans with Tony Brunetti, and Phil Chalice, or Steve Chalice, the engineer. The strategy, I just asked him, any chance you can make it because you pitted at lap 55? He said, we emphatically, definitely will go the distance. So Greg Moore becomes a player. We know that there are others in the top 5, however, who may have to get a splash, including Brian Herta. I think maybe Jack can bring us up to date on some of that.
Gary, add Adrian Fernandez as to one of the drivers that will have to make an additional stop. Add Jill DeFerrin will have to stop. And most importantly, Alex Zanardi will also have to stop. That leaves one big name out there that won't have to stop. His name is Andretti, first name Michael.
This is going to make for some great final laps. We have 11 to go to the finish right now. They've just crossed over on the 79th lap. And Jill DeFerrin currently runs in second. Alex Zanardi's the leader of the race. Look at Jeff Krosnoff there. I'll tell you what, he is really staying in the fight today. Krosnoff currently runs 16th.
Well, you know, yesterday they were having a problem with the car. They had to run it with full of fuel. They could only go down 5 laps because they had a pickup problem that they discovered on the fuel pump. He said his car this morning was great, and he was running around 15 quick all morning in the warm-up.
Well, yesterday, too, the corner workers were reporting that he was very fast through the corners. So Krosnoff, brand new colors on the car, displayed them for the first time last week, and definitely another participant in the IndyCars to watch. Alex Zanardi.
There's Zanardi coming in for that splash.
Leader of the race, Checkaroo.
Now, they put tires out just to try to throw a dummy. They cleaned Zanardi's windshield on his helmet. Fuel only 6.1 seconds. He's away. The first of the guys that have to pit for fuel is in and out.
But there goes DeFerrin to pick up the lead of the race. But the indication from the pits was that DeFerrin, too, will have to start. Here comes Zanardi as he chases. He got at least a good, clean entry onto the racetrack. Didn't have to wait for traffic.
Well, I tell you, DeFerrin, you know, you've got Jim Hall down there calling this thing. He's pretty clever guy. You know, he stopped late, 55 laps. So can he go 35 laps, Paul?
That's why we're watching Michael Andretti. He slowed down.
Oh, and he's offline. He's offline there, which means he's got a big problem. He moved over in case a car came through there.
So he was running fourth. They thought he could make it. Al Unser Jr. and Greg Moore have already gone past, and he's just trying to coast it to the pits.
But you know what? He must not have that as serious a problem as maybe we think, because if he had something that was terminal, I'm surprised he didn't take that shortcut and cut right back into the pit if his day was run.
And what about Jill DeFerrin? Jack?
Well, let's change it and make it more exciting, guys. Jim Hall has made a call. We're going the distance, no more stops. If anything happens, we'll just run out of fuel out on the racetrack. They're going for the victory they thought they were denied 1 year ago.
Oh, is that cool? So it's a setup for the end of the race that is tactically terrific. We'll be back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations. Saturday at 2:30, 1:30 Central. Tennis great Jimmy Connors, John McEnroe, Andres Gomez, they all battle it out in the challenge presented by Quality Inns. And then on ABC's Wide World of Sports, it's the individual event finals of the European Women's Gymnastics Championships presented by State Farm. Plus, a wrap-up of Week 1 in the Tour de France presented by the United States Postal Service. That's all here Saturday on ABC Sports.